further questions. And once we get through the set of questions that I have, we'll open it up to a dialogue with everybody here for you to ask and respond in any way you want to. How do you understand the idea of trans and transgender? Who's a part of the transgender community, and was it different in the past?
Between trans and transgender, in my days, transgender was before surgery and transsexual was after surgery. So there's been a change in the transgender umbrella where there's a lot of add-ons that I don't agree with, but it is what it is. What was that?
And who's part of it? You answered it, and what was different in the past?
God, there's been another, I didn't think I was going to live this long to see the changes that have happened in the last, what, 50 years. When I remember is that when we were growing up, we were trash, we were nothing, we were gutter girls, we didn't mean anything to the community or anything. We were not community. The gay community it was all of us. It was blacks, African Americans, Asians, and we all took care of each other in the Tenderloin because we were a family. The Jim Compton's cafeteria was a socializing for all of us because we were young kids. We were 17, 18, and 19 years old. We didn't know what was going to happen to us or where we were going to go or anything like that. But if people knew what we went through, they wouldn't. It's hard to explain because I've said it so many times that it's. What was the other one?
You're good. I'm going to ask about the Tenderloin next. So let's go on maybe to Veronica on this one. So again, how do you understand the idea of trans and transgender? Who's part of the community, and how is it different in the past?
I'm kind of old school like Felicia. And so my understanding was that transgender was before and trans was after you had sexual reassignment surgery. So now the concept of trans is that everyone is included under the umbrella who so includes drag queens and stuff. But I'm still old school about it. I think that drag queens are just that, drag queens, and while they do a lot of support for the trans community, I don't consider them trans, but then, I let people identify themselves. It's like when I volunteered at the AIDS Emergency Fund, you can't pass judgment on people, and you let them define who they are. So you ask them, are you a male or female, or what are you? And then they say, well, my name is Foxy. Oh, okay, Foxy. So they identify themselves, so you allow that. So, it's unfair for me to try to label anyone. I didn't like labels. I'm an independent individual, and I think everybody should be treated that way. So, people that help the transgender community, they can be gay, straight, crooked, whatever. If you want to help, we all appreciate it. The other thing is, different in the past, there's been a lot of changes, and I think that all of us up here on the panel have helped bring about a lot of these changes where young trans people and young people that are queer and questioning and don't know who they are have guidelines, and kind of we've laid the groundwork and the pavement for them. So it's a lot easier for them now than it was for us.
Back in the 60s, we were known as queens, or within the Tenderloin, we were called the girls. There was no transgender, there was no transsexual. Transsexuals were those that were making enough money for a sex change. They would go to Baltimore, Johns Hopkins, or they would go to Casablanca, Morocco, Paris, Denmark, Mexico, but San Francisco wasn't even doing sex changes back then when I came out. We were all one community, more or less, with the gay community, because all the gay community was the Tenderloin. It's all located in the Tenderloin. Don't let anyone tell you different. It didn't originate in the Barbary Coast or down on Cold Street for the girls, but the Tenderloin was where it was, period. To me, the Tenderloin was just an extension of downtown, me being a native San Franciscan. I didn't know that it was so diversified until I did go out and hit the streets. I started hitting the streets back in 1965, but the streets that I hit were like Market Street, North Beach, Grant Avenue, Fillmore, and other places. But the Tenderloin was the place. And I will never let anybody twist that around or put a spin on it, not while I'm alive.
Well, let's talk about that then. So for each of you then, starting maybe with Felicia, how did you first discover the Tenderloin, and what did you think about it then?
Okay. When I was 14, I met my first gay man in Stockton. He showed me, he was a real feminine boy, and so was I, so we couldn't make it together because we were two girls. We moved to San Jose, and I was going down the street, and you can always tell a gay man because he had his coat wrapped around his shoulder. And this guy stopped me, and he picked me up, and he told me that he would pay me to have sex with him. I was, oh my God, okay. I was 16, and then I got to where the gay people congregated at St. James Park in San Jose. It was the little boys' heaven, little hustler park, little hustler roll. So I had this sugar daddy named Wally, older man, and he says, let's go to San Francisco. I says, ooh, I'm scared. Big city. And we came to San Francisco, and the first sight of San Francisco was, wow, I have never been to such a big city. He took me to the Tenderloin. And after that happened, me and my best friend would come on weekends, and we would be very scared of the Tenderloin, but we would go about 3 or 4 blocks and be afraid to. We would come on the Great Humboldt Depot and get on 7th Street, come to the Tenderloin and get very scary. I discovered the Tenderloin by my sugar dad. That's how it happened. I saw this guy named Cero. I met him, and he took us to his apartment, and he was putting makeup and letting his hair for us. And that's what he called himself a hair fairy. That was how it started. That we couldn't dress like women, so we had to be as close to women as we could by just wearing our hair and putting makeup on and stuff like that. And, after that, it just came natural to come to San Francisco because it was the gay mecca. There were so many bars. I mean, there was, God, about 15 bars. It was the trap, the